These are the pictures you've seen of January 6th. They're familiar because they've been playing on a loop on every media outlet in America for the last 2 years. There's a reason for that. But it turns out there's quite a bit of video you haven't seen, and that video tells a very different story about what happened on January 6th. More than 40,000 hours of surveillance footage from in and around the Capitol have been withheld from the public. And once you see the video, you'll understand why. Taken as a whole, the video record does not support the claim that January 6th was an insurrection. In fact, it demolishes that claim.
Yo, this is the very thing that encourages people to become conspiracy theorists. I have so many questions.
Oh yeah, Diddy got a podcast.
Man, welcome back to another episode of the Ruling Class Podcast. And of course, I'm your host, Diddy, back up in this bitch with another video. Listen, if you're new to the show, please know your boy is thirsty to grow and to drink some of this water. You can help me out by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. And a lot of y'all are not liking the video. Please like the video for me. I would really appreciate it. I'm going to give you a sec to do that to help me out. Alright, I appreciate you. Alright, so look, I'm going to try my very best to not make this video so long. But do you remember a couple of years ago, on January 6th, the insurrection or whatever it was called, when President Trump at the time was giving that rally and he was telling all of his supporters that, or alluding to the fact that the election had been stolen from him, when he had, in my opinion, very little evidence to support that claim. He had reasons to believe it, so to speak, because what he had proclaimed would happen didn't happen. But I'm not going to debate if it was really stolen from him or not, because I don't even know how that stuff works. And to be honest, I'm not even sure if I even really believe in the voting system in this country. I'm just going to keep it a buck with you. But like J. Cole said, in case my lack of reply had you catching them feelings, know you been on my mind like Kaepernick kneeling, or police killings, or Trump saying slick stuff manipulating poor white folks because they ignorant. Tucker Carlson from Fox News, if you have not heard, a lot of you may have heard already, but he pretty much broke the internet a couple of days ago because he has released he's gotten his hands on 40,000 hours of video footage inside the Capitol building that paints a different story than what we've been told. So apparently it didn't go quite the way that we've been told that it went. So without further ado, let's check out the video.
These are the pictures you've seen of January 6th. They're familiar because they've been playing on a loop on every media outlet in America for the last 2 years. There's a reason for that. But it turns out there's quite a bit of video you haven't seen, and that video tells a very different story about what happened on January 6th. More than 40,000 hours of surveillance footage from in and around the Capitol have been withheld from the public. And once you see the video, you'll understand why. Taken as a whole, the video record does not support the claim that January 6th was an insurrection. In fact, it demolishes that claim. And that's exactly why the Democratic Party and its allies in the media prevented you from seeing it. By controlling the images you were allowed to view from January 6th, they controlled how the public understood that day. They could lie about what happened, and you would never know the difference.
Let me go ahead and just pause this here early in the video to say, first of all, I have to pause it like this so that Fox News don't flag me for watching their video. So I want to say that. Second of all, YouTube, these are not my words. Everything you're about to hear is Tucker Carlson's opinion. This is not what I'm saying. This is what he's saying. I want to state that for the YouTube moderators so you don't flag my video or say that I am being something against your community guidelines. This is what Tucker Carlson is saying on his YouTube channel. He dropped this on YouTube, not me. All right, I want to state that. Another thing I want to say, this right here is the very thing that encourages people to become quote-unquote conspiracy theories. Y'all know, for those of you who have been subscribed to this channel for a while, I don't use the terminology conspiracy theories because I don't believe in that. But this is what encourages people to believe in things that people will call conspiracy theories when you're seeing the footage that has not been released yet. Regardless, let me say this up front. You cannot breach the Capitol. I don't care who you are. You can't breach the Capitol. I don't care if you're conservative, liberal, progressive, which I don't even know what the difference between progressive and liberal is anymore. I don't care if you're white, black, old, young, you're from the north, you're from the south. It doesn't matter. You can't breach the Capitol, and if you do it, there are going to be consequences. So, in my opinion, no matter what footage that he shows here, it's not going to alleviate people from being above the law. It's the law of the land. You can't breach the Capitol.
Those lies had a purpose. They created a pretext for a federal crackdown on opponents of the Uniparty in Washington.
Our office wanted to ensure that there was shock and awe, that we could charge as many people as possible.
The first thing you notice from viewing the full video record of January 6th is just how many people entered the Capitol building that day. Hundreds and hundreds of people, possibly thousands, over the course of about 2 hours. The crowd was enormous. A small percentage of them were hooligans. They committed vandalism. You've seen their pictures again and again. But the overwhelming majority weren't. They were peaceful, they were orderly and meek. These were not insurrectionists, they were sightseers. Footage from inside the Capitol overturns the story you've heard about January 6th. Protesters queue up in neat little lines. They give each other tours outside the Speaker's office. They take cheerful selfies and they smile. They're not destroying the Capitol. They obviously revere the Capitol. They're there because they believe the election was stolen from them.
That's my next problem. That's a little bit, and somebody can hop in the comment section and educate me. And I don't mean that rhetorically. I don't mean it sarcastically. I really mean educate me, because clearly there's something I'm missing here. Even if you're there, he just got finished saying that they were there as sightseers, right? They were there because they revered and they care about the Capitol building, right? But then he just said they were there because they felt like the election was stolen from them. How are you there to sightsee because you felt like the election was stolen from you? And also you said that a small percentage of them were hooligans. Okay, so let's keep that same energy for Black Lives Matter. And God knows I don't want to offend Black Lives Matter, the organization, not the statement itself. Of course I agree with the statement, but I can't stand the organization because the organization has very little to do with black people, if anything to do with black people at all. But who would have thought I would have been defending the actual protest? Listen to me when I say this. Y'all barked from the rooftops that Black Lives Matter was burning down buildings, burning down their own city, which I did not agree with. I do not agree with. And you were right about that. But here we are with this. Now you want to differentiate who in the crowd was doing what, who in the crowd wasn't doing that. Well, why weren't you doing the same thing for Black Lives Matter? Because not everybody, but a lot of you weren't doing that. Y'all weren't keeping that same energy, right? We can see you talking about they were there to sightsee. A lot of those people was coming in through the windows. That's not a small percentage. A lot of them was breaking windows. I understand that you addressed that some of them were doing it, but I think a lot of them, you can see a lot of them doing that, right? And I want to say this just for what it's worth. I want to say this early. Let's keep that same energy, because everything isn't about race, but we live in a society where we have constructs, right? Social constructs, and race is one of them. Let's replace everybody that was out there for that because they felt like the election was stolen from them. Let's replace all of them with so-called black people or so-called Hispanic people, and they rushed the Capitol like that. You're going to keep the same energy? I have questions.
They believe in the system. Here's the man you've heard referred to as the QAnon shaman outside the Senate chamber. These are not rioters. These are people who wandered over from a political rally.
We will not let them silence your voices.
After the rally, they walked down Pennsylvania Avenue, where organizers had secured a federal permit to hold a legal rally on the grounds of the Capitol.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
Once at the Capitol building, things began to get chaotic. Capitol police officers fired tear gas into the crowd. A few at the front of the herd broke windows. Someone opened the doors, and many hundreds of others just walked in.
They're gonna make that the story.
Of course, they did make it the story. And at the center of it, the single most famous person arrested that day was a Navy veteran from Arizona called Jacob Chansley, often referred to as the QAnon shaman.
The so-called QAnon shaman.
QAnon shaman.
Someone named Q Shaman.
Jacob Chansley became the face of January 6th, a dangerous conspiracy theorist dressed in outlandish costume who led the violent insurrection to overthrow American democracy. For these crimes, Chansley was sentenced to nearly 4 years in prison, far more time than many violent criminals now receive. What did Jacob Chansley do to receive this punishment? To this day, there is dispute over how Chansley got into the Capitol building. But according to our review of the internal surveillance video, it is very clear what happened once he got inside. Virtually every moment of his time inside the Capitol was caught on tape. The tapes show that Capitol Police never stopped Jacob Chansley. They helped him. They acted as his tour guides. Here's video of Chansley in the Senate chamber. Capitol Police officers take him to multiple entrances and even try to open locked doors for him. We counted at least 9 officers who were within touching distance of unarmed Jacob Chansley. Not one of them even tried to slow him down.
That makes no sense whatsoever. This right here is what encourages people to come up, people like myself and many other people out there who have reason to believe that all of this stuff was orchestrated. This is the reason I don't believe in Republicans and Democrats. I think they're two separate wings of the same bird. And this right here is good evidence as to why I should believe that. Why would none of those officers? I want to hear a good explanation for this. This makes no sense whatsoever. For all of you out there who don't like conspiracy theories, come up with something more logical for me then.
Chansley understood that Capitol Police were his allies. Video shows him giving thanks for them in a prayer on the floor of the Senate. Watch.
Thank you, Heavenly Father, for giving the inspiration needed to these police officers to allow us in this building.
Contrast the reality of what Jacob Chansley did in the Capitol building on January 6th, the indisputable facts recorded on video, some of which has never before been seen, with the depiction of Jacob Chansley that you've seen in the media for more than 2 years. He's a terrorist, they said. He should be killed.
Shoot him. Shoot him. Like, you burst into the United States, if he was dressed like bin Laden, would you have shot him?
Shoot him. Shoot him. It makes you wonder, who are the violent extremists here? Not Jacob Chansley. And the video proves that. But you would never have known from the media coverage.
The people sitting in the chairs need to be sitting in a jail cell.
Chansley is in a jail cell. He's been there for months. If he was in fact committing such a grave crime, why didn't the officers who were standing right next to him place him under arrest? Until now, no one could even prove that even happened. But it did.
Listen, I agree that, if he was committing a crime, why weren't the officers? That's a great question, Tucker. I have the same question as well. But I also want to say this, that doesn't alleviate him, or that doesn't eliminate the fact that this man, you're talking about, if you notice earlier, he said there has been dispute about how he got into the Capitol building, but there's no dispute of what happened once he got inside. No, let's get back to the fact of how he got into the building, because that's important. If you breach the Capitol, who cares if the officers who may also feel politically the same way that you do, so in fact they decided to help you, God knows why they would be doing something like that or choose to do that with cameras in there. But even if they decided to help him, you breached the Capitol. That alone is an offense. You should be arrested for that. And whether those officers decided to do it or not, you can later still be arrested for it. So that doesn't eliminate him. But I want to ask this question again. Imagine if all those were so-called black people. Let's call a spade a spade. Don't lie and don't say I'm making everything about race, because that's facts. Y'all would not keep that same energy, right? This is why I can never be conservative, liberal, progressive, or any of those things, because you have cognitive biases, right? You have cognitive dissonance when it comes to something that is either for you or against whatever position that you have. You have people, grown men, saying dumb things like this.
What was the reason for the January 6th situation? And mind you, I call it a situation because it wasn't an insurrection. Insurrection is a violent uprising against the government or authority. Let me explain something. For everybody that saw what's happening, especially with Tucker, it was none of that.
Yes, it
right?
was.
So, and when I asked why, Pat, why did the people go to the Capitol? It's a rhetorical question. Why'd they go? Because those people thought that the election was stolen from them. And my question is, Pat, is that such a far-fetched idea for them to think that the left would do something like that?
Maybe not.
Right? And
Who knows?
What? The answer is no, Pat. They've lied, the left and the government. They lied about Russia. They lied about COVID. They lied about vaccines. They lied about Hunter Biden. They lied about the border. They lied about China. The audacity to be like, how dare you guys question us? It's like, bro, shut the hell up. These people were there because, you know what? They don't believe the government. And this is my thing. I'm actually not proud, but impressed. You know what? When you have a problem and you think the government is effing with you, That's what you go to the government. You don't burn down your city. You don't kill your own people. You don't burn down businesses in your town. Like remember with the riots, people were burning down BLM, Antifa. They burned down their own city. If you have a problem with authority, go to the authority.
Yeah, I agree that you shouldn't do what a lot of the people, Antifa and a lot of the infiltrators of those protests, because all of those protests weren't violent for Black Lives Matter, for what it's worth. And I don't really want to defend those people out there, but a lot of those people weren't violent. It was some of the infiltrators of those protests. But nonetheless, this man said, I actually commend what they did. I'm paraphrasing, because if you have a problem with the government, go to the government. Go to the government? Is that what you call what they did? Going to the government is not what they did. Bro, they were climbing through windows, breaking doors, going into these people's offices. You can't breach the Capitol. That's not what you're supposed to do when you have a problem with the government. And I have a problem with the government. I know a lot of people have a problem with the government. But that's not the way that you handle it. Why do you have these double standards, man? This is why I'm not Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, any of those things. I am a follower of the way. You know what the way means? I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. Right? Because when you find adults following other human beings, we're all flawed. And you see double standards like this, regardless of this tape is ridiculous. I can't explain why those officers did not arrest that man or arrest a lot of those people. In fact, they were helping them. I can't explain why they did it, but what I can explain is that nonetheless, a lot of them deserve jail time. A lot of them still deserve to be arrested. That didn't change anything. Y'all up in the comment section, y'all give me y'all thoughts on this. Until next time, peace.
Oh yeah, Diddy got a podcast.